Yeah, we all know that was BS. Let's talk about it. Happy New Year, but a not so happy Thursday morning edition of the PHNX Sun Devils podcast. Of course, welcome into Studio K, presented by Circle K. Join the Inner Circle for free by downloading the Circle K app today. Terms and conditions apply at participating locations. Visit CircleK.com for details. Joining me live from Atlanta, waiting to get on a flight, it is Anthony Totri, who's never missed a call in his entire life. I'm Erik Ruby, and of course, Kyle Cooper, Captain Redbeard, behind the Mac, making all the magic happen. Texas fans, I highly anticipate all of you coming in here today and talking your trash. Welcome on in. As long as you hit that like button, as long as you subscribe to PHNX Sports, and of course, all you ASU diehards that are still reeling after the double overtime loss with so much more than just the game to talk about, make sure you hit that like button as well. Totri, hi.
What's up, man? What's up, everybody in the chat? Like you said, Happy New Year. I'd love to know how everyone's still doing on a pain scale here, because for me, this is still pretty painful. Spent the morning talking with Gus Farrell and Ralph Ampson. Spent the last probably hour and a half just chatting with them, getting their thoughts on everything. And yeah, not only right is it painful that they lost. We'll get into the targeting and all that stuff, but there is actually some interesting stuff that was tweeted out not too long ago. I don't know if you saw this, Erik, but you remember Arizona State, they had their field goal blocked, correct?
Yeah.
It bounced in. According to Rule 8, Section 4, Article 1 of the rules, the field goal should have counted.
Wow.
Because it bounced through. So just another reason for Arizona State fans to be up in arms.
Well, we'll maybe get more into that and just look at all the ways that ASU possibly got screwed over. Obviously, at the end of the day, the season is over. You can talk about what was missed and what went down all we want. At the end of the day, it doesn't truly matter. But a lot of people, and I think Texas fans specifically, are going to talk about this is crying. This is, oh, well, you lost, just lose with grace and dignity, whatever, which is honestly so ironic to me, considering how so many Texas fans have handled themselves with this. And they're the only group of people, Totri, that do not think that targeting occurred at the end of the game. Now that you've had a night to sleep on it, obviously it's how this show is built. What are your thoughts on what I'm considering the biggest missed call in all of college football this year?
I mean, go ahead, throw it up there. Throw up the photo. I don't know how you can look at this and tell me that is not targeting. He was a defenseless receiver that is direct helmet to helmet contact with the front of the helmet. It is in every single way, by the definition of the rule, that is targeting. There have been a number of individuals who literally, like Gene Steratore, massive prominent national figures, have said that was, again, by the rule, that is targeting.
Yeah.
And that's not to say that Arizona State was going to 100% go win the football game. But the targeting occurred at, 1 minute, 11 seconds left in the fourth quarter on a 3rd and 15 on the ASU 45. If that's called targeting, it's 1st and 10 with over a minute to play from the Texas 38. Arizona State was moving the football at will at that point. They had all the momentum, and, you don't necessarily know, but it would have been nice for the rule to be called the way that it's intended to actually be called.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate as well, because Arizona State has been a team that's actually been on the suffering end of so many targeting calls this year, and some of them were targeting, and some of them felt a little bit generous for the other team, including Shamari Simmons, who your starting nickel, who clearly made a massive difference in the game, missing your first half against Texas, and of course you're starting somebody who had never played a nickel before, and they get attacked right off the bat, and Texas is able to put 7 up early. Frederico in the chat says, no targeting, that's college football playoffs football. Dude, and this is my biggest, like, Doug Gottlieb, like, people saying that, it's the moment. You can't call it because of the moment.
No, dude, that's not how the rule works.
It's not how the rules work.
Rules.
It's like saying oh, you know what? It's okay to do something terrible like drunk driving because it's New Year's, right? The situation changes what's going on. No, you follow the law no matter the day. And if it's like an iffy call, if it's a 50-50 call, if it's like, you know what, that might not be targeting. The only people on planet Earth who do not think that was targeting are Texas fans and SEC people who are just blinded by bias. And I don't even want to sit here and say it totally cost ASU the game, because I think you can go down that path. I think you can discuss what would happen to ASU if that did not happen. There were multiple things after that were in ASU's control that they were not able to take care of and that Texas took advantage of. So, Texas won the game. And I'm not going to sit here and say that's the only moment, but if you don't think that gave Texas such a massive shift and advantage in the moment, like, you haven't been understanding how that game was being played, where the momentum was so heavily in ASU's favor. And it's frustrating because it's a rule that nobody really knows the general definition of. And we played this video of Kenny yesterday. We put a short out there, and there were some insane comments on it that I'm going to kind of run everybody through after we remind everybody what Kenny Dillingham had to say about that targeting call.
In terms of the targeting, I want to be honest, I don't know what targeting is. We lost one of our best players in the first half for targeting, and I just don't know. I just don't know what it is. So I don't want to comment on something that I have to get a better grasp of what it is, just because it's so, I just don't quite understand it. I do just want to protect the players, though. So whatever rules are put in place to protect the players, I'm all about.
We had comments, Totri, on that short about, this is probably why ASU lost. Their head coach doesn't know what targeting is.
I'm gonna do this. This is what I'm gonna do, because there are a bunch of fans that don't know the specifics of certain rules. Okay, so I'm going to read you the exact definition of what targeting is. Okay, there are a number of elements to targeting, and a play doesn't have to actually have every single part of this to be called for targeting, right? So you've got targeting and making forcible contact with the crown of the helmet. No player shall target and make forcible contact against an opponent with the crown of their helmet. The crown of the helmet is the top segment of the helmet, namely the circular area defined by the blah, 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 right? When in question, it is a foul. If you look at our thumbnail today, in that image, we can go ahead and throw it back up there. Tell me that is not forcible contact with the crown of the helmet. And if you, for some reason, still don't think that is what we're talking about here, targeting means that a player takes aim at an opponent for purposes of attacking with forcible contact that goes beyond making a legal tackle, right? I would say that doesn't necessarily apply here, right? I'm not saying that this guy was being egregious and super intentful to hurt Melquan Ball, but it does meet the forcible contact with the crown of the helmet. It also meets the defense player part of this rule, right? When in question, a player is defenseless, exactly what this was, right?
Mm-hmm.
A player in the act of or just after throwing a pass, right? This includes an offensive player in a passing posture, focused down a receiver attempting to catch a forward pass or in position to receive a backward pass, or one who has completed a catch and has not had time to protect themselves or has not clearly become a ball carrier. It meets the definition of targeting by two of the three standards, and it only needs to meet one to be considered targeting.
Yeah,
it was targeting.
Well, and I also want to read a couple comments from the chat. Kevin J335 says, Texas fan here, definitely was targeting, but ASU was amazing. I was completely wrong. Y'all have a great team. And Coach AZ Cat says, U of A fan here, ASU got screwed. That was targeting. And then, of course, there are people in the chat who say it's not targeting. A lot of Texas fans, and even Armando saying, I think you're doing your team a disservice by focusing on the call. It wasn't called on the field. It was carefully reviewed and determined to be a clean hit. Your team battled in a classic. Listen, we did a whole post-game show yesterday, and we did mention the targeting and bring it up, but we gave ASU their props. We gave the game their props, and I even gave a lot of Texas, their props as well. But if you don't think that coming off of a game like that was so close, that was so back and forth, that went to double overtime, and the entire discourse around it is the fact that this was targeting. Like, every single person who doesn't think that it's targeting has a clear, and I'm not even trying to say this in like a way it's like calling you out, has a clear bias towards the team. Right? Whether it's SEC or it's Texas, I have not seen, and this is not just me being a Sun Devils person, right? I have not seen a single person, whether it's national media, whether it's local media, whether it's local media from a different state, whether it's, just podcasts, whether it's news outlets, whether it's, people who literally do rural reviews for a living. Nobody has come out there from a neutral, unbiased perspective and said that it was not targeting. And he was obviously put in a situation where Melquan Stovall, I don't think it was intentional, but was absolutely put in a dangerous situation.
No.
And if we don't want to call targeting and we don't want to call that targeting, you know what? Okay, right? I get it. Targeting's weird and it's fickle. And if we want to lean towards giving people and defenders more of the benefit of the doubt, perfectly fine. Right? I don't know if that's the best for the health and safety, but if that's the route that we need to take as far as football to make sure this rule is called consistently, fine. But you're sitting at a point now where your first half you lost a player due to a BS targeting call where literally the quarterback ducked down into what was going to be a clean tackle, where you lost your best defensive player in the game who literally made an instant impact when he came back in for the second half. When you were put in a situation like that, where it's so blatantly obvious in one way that if you called the rule consistently as to how you called it for ASU and for everybody else throughout the year, it is a clear penalty in the biggest game of the year at that point. And if you as an Arizona State fan don't walk away from that feeling some type of way, well, then you're probably not a real Arizona State fan. And every single Texas fan in here, if the roles were reversed, which by the way, they have, I had Texas fans in the live stream bringing up how ASU was getting bailed out by the refs. There are fans in here saying ASU was holding every single play.
By the way, hit on Bond. I see people in the chat talking about it. That was not targeting. Again, by the definition of the rule, Keith Abney did not use helmet-to-helmet contact at any point. Okay, it wasn't an egregious intentional hit. He was actually jumping out of the way, and it was shoulder contact. So that, again, by the definition of the rule, that was not targeting from Keith Abney on Bond. And again, I know there's a bunch of people in the chat saying that, we don't want to take away from the game, and absolutely not. We're just, again, talking about a big part of the game.
It's the biggest story in college football right now.
I'm not sitting here saying that Arizona State would have won the game. But what I am saying is, by the definition of the rule, I don't care about the moment. That has nothing to do with it. That was targeting. It should have been called. It wasn't. It was blatant. It was obvious. And it furthers narratives, right, from trolls mainly, saying that there is now a ridiculous SEC bias, which, again, you don't want that for the sport, blah, 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 blah. I don't think it has anything to do with, the big wigs for the networks wanting to see the SEC in championship games. I don't think it has anything to do with that. But it was a very important, crucial missed call in a college football playoff quarterfinal game that, could have had lasting repercussions on the way that the game played out. And that's something that this fan base is going to have to live with for quite some time. And there certainly needs to be further discussion about what targeting is, how it is called, how the review process works, because clearly the review process it failed Arizona State. It failed Arizona State in this moment.
And I think that's my big thing is there has to be Like, there has to be consistency with the rule, because in moments like this, like, you should absolutely get it 100% right without even a shadow of a doubt, especially when it goes to review. And I think there are other games and other crews, and I know there would be, considering how people have been talking about it, who would go and review that call and end up with a different conclusion than what this crew of refs did. Right. And that's not okay. And I get it. Like,
Big 10 referees, by the way, Big 10 refs.
But it's like, like, you're in the moment and maybe you don't call it in the moment. The same thing with the hold, right? And there were some misholds on both sides. There was an illegal blindside block on the kick return that wasn't called on Texas. Like, some people are saying Cam Skattebo had a OPI on the 62-yard pass that he got from Sam Leavitt. Like, I understand that in the moment, sometimes things are not called, and that goes both ways. But when you go to review, right? Like, and Patriot Mapper in the chat says there needs to be accountabilities if the officials review it and still get it wrong. I think that you can find so many other football referees who would review that and walk away with a different conclusion. And that, at the end of the day, just says that the rule is flawed. But it's not the only reason why ASU lost the game. It's not the only play that happened. We're going to, well, go ahead. You guys got a final thought on it?
Before we go to break, can we put a poll in the chat? Was it targeting or not? Just a yes or no. We'll put that poll in there, and let's throw the image up there one more time for everybody that hasn't seen a still photo of what this was. Let me know in the chat. Was this targeting, yes or no?
I think it is. I think it is. Some Texas fans in the chat don't think it is. Some people bringing up 4th and 13. We're going to dissect that play. We're going to dissect what else went into an Arizona State loss, because we're not just the type of people who are going to tell you that the targeting play would have changed everything and it was the only way that Arizona State lost. We are objective, truthful journalists and fans, and we're going to dive into all of that right after a break. I was powered yesterday by our friends over at Neutral. I was on air 6 hours straight. Pre-game, watch-along, post-game show, all on PHNX Sun Devils, and all was powered and brought to you by Neutral, because they are keeping it tasty in Tempe, and they're keeping it tasty for hard seltzer lovers. And it's not just your normal run-of-the-mill hard seltzer. That would be ridiculous. It's real, like real ingredients, 3 of them: vodka, seltzer, real juice. And it tastes so damn good. I love the strawberry lemonade. Your boy Anthony Totri is a cran apple guy in more ways than one. I don't know what that means, but it feels like it's fitting. They have so many different flavors too. I was drinking the orange yesterday, black cherry, watermelon. They have so many different varieties, and it's a light and refreshing taste that doesn't feel artificial. It doesn't taste artificial. It just tastes right. Neutral, keep it tasty. Enjoy responsibly. 2024 Anheuser-Busch Neutral is a flavored vodka and carbonation out of St. Louis, Missouri. And of course, right now I'm not wearing Branded Bills, but yesterday I was wearing Branded Bills for my entire 6 hours straight on air. Captain Redbeard's wearing Branded Bills right now, and Branded Bills is the perfect headwear and apparel. Whether you need snapbacks, truckers, fitted, beanies, or tees, Branded Bills has you covered with performance and style. Are you looking for some gear to make your brand stand apart from the rest? Well, we over here at PHNX have our own custom PHNX hats. You can get that for your own crew as well, whether you're starting your own small business, whether you already have a business started and you're just trying to represent for your team, or maybe you just have a custom logo, maybe a fantasy football league, and you want to get a little bit of merch there. Branded Bills has you covered. Plus, of course, they have partnered with the great Big 12 champion Arizona State University Sun Devils, and they're a local company out of Mesa, Arizona. And we absolutely love Branded Bills, and you can get 20% off your first order by using code PHNX. Head to brandedbills.com, use code PHNX for 20% off your first order. Totri, so much more went into this game than just the targeting call that was missed, right? Yeah. And that, of course, comes down to Arizona State with the lead in overtime, 4th and 13. Texas is on the ropes. They call a blitz. I asked you how it felt after you slept on the targeting play. Now that you've had a night to sleep on it, maybe go back and watch it. What are your reactions to 4th and 13?
I've got it in front of me. I took a video. From the press box on that play. And Arizona State, they sent an all-out blitz, man. They had a 4-man front. Jordan Crook creeped up. Miles Rouser creeped up. Keyshawn Elliott crept up as well. And at that point, all of those guys went. right? The ball is snapped. Every single one of those guys that I mentioned blitzed. Texas, Quinn Ewers checked to a max protection. Arizona State, when they sent all those guys, they had Prince Dorba drop into coverage. They also had Clayton Smith drop into coverage. Also in coverage there, Xavier Alford, single high safety. Shamari, he had a third of the field. Javen Robinson looked like he had a third of the field. But if you go back and watch that, right, that play obviously is intended to try and speed up the play. You're trying to get Ewers uncomfortable, off balance, make a bad throw, make a throw before a route is developed, and try and win that game. If you go back and look, it wasn't just that wide receiver that was open. Just about every single wide receiver, and it was only a three-man route. They only had three guys running routes on that play. Every single one was open. The little shimmy that was given at the top of the route kind of froze Shamari. And X being in a single high safety look, it was just it was too tough for him to really get over to make that play. And that was Quinn's best throw of the day, ultimately. So
and he apparently checked out of their original coverage as well and realized what ASU was doing and changed the play call on the fly. So you have to give him credit for that as well. Do you, and I know getting Ewers uncomfortable, they were able to hit him, put pressure on him. They were actually able to get through that offensive line multiple times in that second half as well. Do you see a world where this could have ended up being the right call, or is this just you cannot call that in any situation? Because I know what I think.
No, absolutely not. You take a timeout there. First off, if you don't like that look, right, and I don't know how shaky my connection is right now, but you take a timeout if you're Kenny Dillingham at that moment. Even if you love the call that you're in defensively, that way you get a look at what Texas is in. You have a look at what Texas is in. You've already scored your touchdown, right? So at that point, you're not going to use the timeout if you're back on offense. Take the timeout. It's 4th and 13. Set the nerves, right? Make sure everybody knows exactly what they need to be in this assignment. And you don't need to send all that pressure. Sit back in coverage, sit at the sticks, and win the ball game. I don't like the fact that you send pressure and you keep out two guys in Clayton Smith and Prince Dorba, who have been your pass rushers all year long, and you drop them into coverage, and you send Rouser, Crook, and Keyshawn. I absolutely hate that call. That is my personal opinion on that, right? Obviously, if it works, it's completely different, but those guys were awesome getting to Quinn in the second half on their own. So to send those guys to only have a handful of guys in coverage, two of them being edge rushers, I absolutely did not like that call defensively. And at the very least, I think you burned a timeout there just so you can see what Ewers in Texas are in. But at the end of the day, you got to tip your cap to Texas on that one. That was like I said, Quinn's best throw of the day. It was a great route, and that play is the one that sent Arizona State pretty much packing, because that got Texas. The Texas fans were out of it. The Texas fans were out of it the entire second half of the game. That play got them back in it. Obviously, the very next play, they score their second touchdown in overtime, and that was that.
Right, and it's unfortunate because in a game that was, an incredible game. Like, if we're looking at it from a neutral perspective, I know that we're stinging right now, and maybe as time goes on, we can have a bigger conversation about this. That's one of the greatest college football playoff games of all time. That's one of the greatest college football games of all time. Like, it just pure entertainment value, like where ASU came from versus Texas, the storylines coming into it. Like, that might be a top 10 game of all time. Period, due to the stakes, the drama behind it all. And it really came down to, at the end of the day, the first couple of minutes and the last couple of minutes when Texas was just able to light up the scoreboard, right? You had 28 points or 29 points in those final couple of minutes, in the first couple of minutes combined. And the 4th and 13 is so brutal. It's so brutal because it feels like there's just an obvious choice there. And sometimes with this Arizona State staff, as fantastic of a job as they've done, and there's somebody in the chat calling for Brian Ward's job. Absolutely not. You locked him up for another 3 years. He's been incredible all season. The same thing with Marcus Arroyo.
Had 60 rush yards on the day.
Right. The same thing with, although certain outlets would say that Texas had a great rushing game. Not mentioning who, but ridiculous things. If you know,
Texas's offense outside of that first drive, played like words I can't say.
Yeah, but and so here's the thing, right? Like there have been throughout this entire season with how incredible of a job Kenny, Marcus Arroyo, and Brian Ward have done. There have definitely been games and moments where we are scratching our heads a little bit as far as what went on, but usually it's like 95% of the time it's like, okay, we get it, and we're gonna trust your process, and we're gonna understand like what you're doing. But that came back to bite them, not only, I think, at the end of the game with 4th and 13, but I think with some of the aggression that Kenny was getting out there when it came to going forward on 4th and short situations against a Texas run defense that at the time was stuffing Cam Skattebo as well. And so I really do wonder if going into this offseason, going into next season, they're going to maybe reevaluate how aggressive they are in certain plays in certain situations, because I do think that was a massive mistake. But House of Heat Sports says Brian Ward is why we were in that game. And you have to trust that guy. And I think we all agree that was the wrong call. I'm sure he thinks that was the wrong call. But at the end of the day, like the only reason you're in a position where that actually matters is because this defense did what it's done so many times. You know, Texas fans talked about the Texas State game and looked down on it, but it was almost the same thing where ASU came down double digits in the first half, felt like they were out of the game, snapped back in the second half due to incredible defensive adjustments. And that's exactly what happened in that game. It just culminated with a terrible call.
Yeah, no, it absolutely did. And one thing I do want to say before we continue that conversation. So Ralph had actually sent me that tweet, the tweet about the field goal thing. You got to tip the cap to the troll job because that was an AI generated thing. Just in terms of the field goal. So the field goal, no matter what, would not have counted.
Oh, dude.
I just want to correct that. I just want to correct that. No, I just want to correct that. That's my bad for trusting the internet sometimes. But yeah, that 4th and 13 is going to haunt Arizona State fans for eternity. It's the fact of the matter is you were a play away. You were one stop away when your defense had been doing a phenomenal job all half. Like I said, I don't love the call. I don't love an all-out blitz. But I can see the logic behind it, right? Like these guys, as much as we know football and like football and watch football and analyze football, these guys' knowledge of the game runs circles around what we know. So you know, Brian Ward liked the call at the time, and if he didn't like the call, right? If they didn't like it after the check from Ewers, take the timeout.
Yeah, I think the timeout is kind of where you're looking at it. And also, and this is such a funny thing to say because it's like all of sports in general, but if it worked, if they just got to Ewers before he could get the ball off, which is what they did a lot of times in the second half, then you're talking about how Brian Ward's a genius for bucking the trend and calling a blitz on 4th and 13, bringing the house and putting down Ewers the way that they had earlier in the game. And obviously that didn't happen. And shout out to Ewers. You mentioned his best throw. He checked out of it as well. Like he did a really good job in that situation delivering. And it was at that moment where it was like everything just shifted for Texas, and you couldn't see it because, you know, you were at the game, but literally the broadcast didn't even show the start of the second touchdown. Like I looked up and it was in the middle of the play, and I was like, what the hell is going on? Because not only do you have 4th and 13, but then you start your next drive on defense and you allow them to score in one play. You know, as much as you want to criticize 4th and 13, you also had another opportunity to not put yourself in the situation that you found yourself in.
No, that's very true. And Arizona State defensively had done a pretty remarkable job all game long on Gunnar Helm. And in terms of just keeping him under wrap, right? This is a tight end that has been really phenomenal all year long, has been a security blanket for Quinn Ewers and Arch Manning when he's been in there. So it's unfortunate, but you know, that's one of those plays where Sark makes his money, right? Steve Sarkisian is one of the greatest offensive minds in college football. And you only need to have one of those plays, right? You only need one game winner. And he dialed it up right there. And it was going to be tough, I think, mentally for Arizona State to get back in it that quickly after what had happened on 4th and 13. That truly was the game right there. The second touchdown, the second 2-point conversion, it was what it was. But mentally, I feel like it was just it took the life out of this team to know that you were one play away from advancing when all you heard was that you were going to get boat raced in this game.
Is there, and maybe ASU fans don't want to hear this right now, but we are gonna for our next segment talk about Sam Leavitt announcing that he will return to Tempe next year. What that means, we're gonna get into some recruiting news as well. Should ASU fans be able to feel that pride that eventually will come later in this offseason, or is it too early? Does it sting too much right now?
No, I think that's a good question. I think there are a lot of Arizona State fans that are split on that, right? I think there's a good chunk that are very, very upset, and I think there are some that have processed the loss a little bit quicker, in saying, you know what, this is still a phenomenal season. And you're right, it is still a phenomenal season. This loss doesn't take anything away from what you witnessed this year, from how amazing it was, how magical it was. But part of having success is the raised expectations. And you see that in a season. You also see it in a game, right? Like, we're not having this intensive a conversation if Arizona State doesn't find a way to rally in that second half, right? So it's part of it, and the expectations were raised when Arizona State tied the ball game, and then took it to overtime, and then had the lead, and then had them on 4th and 13. The expectation was you win the game now, right? So I think that's why it's going to take some time for people to really process this loss, myself included. I opened Twitter this morning, and it's like I don't even want to watch anything as it relates to the game, because I'm just gutted, right? I'm gutted for these players. I'm gutted for this coaching staff. But it just goes to show that one play really can make all the difference.
Yeah, one play can make the difference, and I think it's a little bit different for me. I don't know why, and maybe it's because I was literally just running on fumes yesterday. But like right after the game, like it got to the point where I was just like, I was so immensely proud of this team, right? And what they did, and maybe over time and this morning, I think it sunk in a little bit different. But like the disappointment of them not being able to pull it off just was not as overwhelming for me because of how they got there, how they fought back. It would have been really, really difficult if what Texas fans were in here saying for over a week about how ASU didn't belong, Texas was going to boat race them, and if they put up a performance like so many others did in the college football playoffs, that would have been such a bad note to end on. But at the end of the day, ASU ended the season proving it to everybody that they belonged, proving to everybody that they were one of the 8 best teams in college football this year, if not higher, considering how they played and depending on what Texas does for the rest of this college football playoffs. Let's say hypothetically they beat Ohio State, or a weird situation, they blow out Ohio State. I know. I don't think it's going to happen either. I don't think it's going to happen either, but a lot of people didn't expect ASU to compete. Anything's on the table. If Texas does go on some sort of miraculous run, there's a chance ASU maybe plays them the closest. That is maybe a little delusional and me coping right now, but one thing that has me feeling so much better about everything going on at ASU is that the man under center, your starting quarterback, redshirt freshman, now going to be a redshirt sophomore next year, Sam Leavitt, announced on his Instagram he's running it back and he's coming back next year. We will be back after this break to talk about that. Last night I needed to relax a little bit. I said it on air, and I went home, and I had to make sure that I just wasn't as on edge as I was after going for 6 hours straight right here on PHNX Sports. That's where our friends over at Colt Cannabis came in. And of course, Colt Cannabis is now available at your local True Leaf with a variety of premium flower. And guess what? It's Thursday, so you know what that means. It's deal day for our friends over at Colt Cannabis at your local neighborhood True Leaf. 2 of these Colt Cannabis jars for just $70. That's $35 a jar. What a deal. We love Colt Cannabis and we love True Leaf. Get over to trueleaf.com, find your local dispensary, and get these Colt jars before they run out. Also, be sure to check out the new True Leaf location opening in Maricopa on January 11th. Get over to trueleaf.com, find your local shop, get your deal on this Thursday, place an order, and tell them that PHNX sent you. And right now, and all of yesterday, I was rocking my Shady Rays. And you're probably asking yourself, why on earth are you rocking Shady Rays while you're podcasting? Well, my friends, it's because I got really bright lights right in front of me, and I don't like to crumble in front of them. And Shady Rays, well, they just help me do that. They're an independent sunglasses company offering a world-class product rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people. That's a little bit less than the number of people who actually thought that was targeting on that play, but a very big number nonetheless. The shades have durable frames, crystal clear optics, making them the perfect choice for all outdoor or indoor adventures, and they have different styles, including probably in your team's favorite colors. You can get some Shady Rays with their best deal of the season, and of course, if you don't like it, you can exchange a new pair or return worry-free within 30 days. There's no risk when you shop, and exclusively for our listeners, Shady Rays is giving out their best deal of the season. Head to shadyrays.com, use code PHNX for 35% off polarized sunglasses. Try for yourself. The shades rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people. All right, we got Anthony Totri on lock for one more segment here because that man has to scurry and get on a flight to get back to Arizona. No better way to end your time in Georgia, Totri, than to talk about Sam Leavitt, who announced last night on Instagram after the game that he will be back. He says, love this team, will be back, believe that. Now, Totri, neither of us doubted that this kid was going to be coming back next year from either statements for his father or how he just kind of acts and carries himself. And you could even tell in the post-game press conference just how much like this school, this opportunity meant to him. But what does it mean for Arizona State? Because we've talked about a lot of returning players, and they're all extremely important. But to get back your starting quarterback who played so well as a redshirt freshman. I can't hear you, Totri. I think you muted yourself. Hello. He's giving me the give me a second. Man, I set you up so perfectly too. That was such a good toss, man. Right now we're taking Totri off the screen. Oh my goodness. I don't know what's going on over there. Okay, he says bring it back. Bring it back. Hello? Nope, can't hear you. All right, well, that's Anthony Totri. Bye-bye, Anthony Totri. Let's get to a couple of your super chats. I want to definitely talk to him about Sam Leavitt if we are able to do that. John Whitaker with the 499 super chat says, Texas fans are the sorest winners. There's a reason no one likes y'all. Dubs up, forks up. Paintball Gaming says, hands doing a high five. Oh, I think just thank you. Yes. We don't get the emojis through there. And then a $9.99 super chat with no comment from Paintball Gaming. Anthony Totri, are you back?
I don't know. Am I back?
I hear you. Okay. Please enlighten me. Tell me about Sam Leavitt coming back, please. What does that mean to this team? What does it mean to you?
Yeah, I mean, it's massive, right? You get a kid that was just playing on a national stage. He didn't have the greatest game in the world, but I think he still balled out in his own right, went toe-to-toe with a guy that, a lot of people consider a future NFL quarterback. I am not one of those individuals that thinks Quinn Ewers is an NFL caliber quarterback. But to get your starting quarterback back, a guy that I anticipate being a preseason Heisman Trophy candidate, a kid that, has shown growth and development over the entirety of this season. It's massive. It's massive for this coaching staff, right? To have some consistency at that position. And to also be able to head into the portal and still try and get some guys that you want. And you can have that as a pitch, right? To be able to say, hey, we've got our gunslinger back. A guy that was playing in the college football playoff quarterfinals. He's here. So it's huge, right? It's absolutely huge. And I have no doubt that Sam Leavitt is going to take this team to potentially this same place next season.
Well, and I think you can be maybe an offensive lineman who's in the portal and see what Sam Leavitt can do, see what Arizona State does with running backs as well. And to give credit to the offensive line, they did handle their business a little bit more throughout the game. And I think at the end of the day, like having Sam coming back for wide receivers, right? We'll talk about a Zachariah Branch, or I will once you head out of here. I'll talk about how Zachariah Branch, still in contention, taking a visit to another school. Jordan Tyson coming back, Jalen Moss being added to the wide receiver room as well. Like, you would want to play with this guy, and you want to be able to protect this guy. Because, yeah, you saw some passion, you saw some fire, but he also stepped up big time. Okay, so here's the question here, all right? And not to derail it from Sam coming back, but Texas fans are just, they are absolutely for sure thinking that Quinn Ewers was a better quarterback in that game. Do you agree with that assessment?
Quinn Ewers is cheeks, dude. He is a bad quarterback. He is not going to beat Ohio State next week, and he is not going to be an NFL starting quarterback by any stretch of the imagination. Texas fans have fallen in love with him. They got the deli man here. Quinn Ewers is not that guy. He's not that guy, and I know there's going to be people that disagree with me, and that's totally fine. By my evaluation, he is not a very good NFL quarterback. He has an SEC offensive line that played like an SEC offensive line, and he's got 2, potentially 3 NFL caliber wide receivers playing with him. So there you go. I could play quarterback with all those guys out there, and with 6'10" offensive linemen and 310 pounds. I know I'm getting a little aggressive here, but no, Quinn Ewers he's fine. He's fine. He's probably the worst quarterback left in the college football playoff. So it is what it is.
Yeah, and I mean, Texas still beat ASU, but Quinn Ewers was not powering them and carrying them there. And during the live watch along, I had a bunch of Texas fans in our comments talking about how much they hated Quinn Ewers. And even to the point where when ASU got back in this game, it's because Ewers just, every time he threw the ball deep, it was a win for ASU. But of course, it's unfortunate that ended with the way that Ewers throwing deep is how they won the game. Right, so it was a very up and down. What's going on with the deli man over there? He seems like he wants to say or do something.
Let's see.
Does this work? Can you hear me better?
Yeah, that's actually way clearer.
I can't hear you though, unfortunately now.
Oh,
one moment.
There you go. I like how we're changing mics when you have 4 minutes left before you have to go.
There we go. How's the audio sound?
I mean, it sounds way better, but we only have you for 4 more minutes.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
Okay, so with your clear audio, let's go back to what this away from the Texas game for ASU. How do you see Sam Leavitt improving in his second season in maroon and gold?
I think that's a good question. I think you just have some, a little bit more comfortability in this offense, in this system. You're going to have Marcus Arroyo back as your offensive coordinator. You're still going to have some of those same offensive linemen there. You're hoping to get Jordan Tyson back. You're getting Malik McLean back, Shimon Mateer back. You're adding a new running back. This guy is going to be the guy, right? You're not going to have a Cam Skattebo next year. So this guy has to be that guy. Sam Leavitt has to be the best player on this offense. And I think spending a year in this offense, seeing how much value Cam Skattebo had to this offense, I think is only going to really improve what Sam is capable of next season. So he's got to be that guy.
Sharon is asking for Shane to speak. Can Shane give his thoughts? You could ask him his thoughts on Sam Leavitt.
Sharon wants your thoughts on Sam Leavitt returning.
Good. One thing I want to hijack from me getting the mic, though, is I found this really cool Activate the Valley bracelet yesterday as a sign of hope.
Was the hope not the barbecue we ate?
No, that was theft.
No.
Yeah, so that's a good thing. Sam Leavitt coming back is obviously massive, and I don't think there was really ever a question. I wasn't really ever worried. Sorry, I have to lean on your shoulder right now. So yeah, it's a great thing. And for people saying he was a non-factor, that just look at our good friend Shayon of The Athletic tweeted it this morning. He quote tweeted somebody talking smack about Leavitt, how he didn't back it up and didn't have a good game, and it was that screenshot of somebody tweeting, "I can't wait to look at box scores and then argue with everybody that watched the game." That's exactly what happened when people are arguing about Sam Leavitt not having a good game. I mean, there are countless plays that you just had to have, and he had it. You think of big throws. You think of the throw to Skattebo. You think of the 3rd and 14 run that he converted in an overtime with a 16-yard run to set up ASU for a score. You think of him checking out of the Philly special and saying, "My ankle hurts," and having Skattebo completely change the play. Like, he was unbelievable, and he's only going to get better. And you saw the passion last night on his face. I mean, He's such an elite talent. There's a reason why he's going to be a Heisman candidate next year. He's got everything you want in a quarterback. And guys, he was a redshirt freshman this year.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
I love you guys. Thanks for following along with the coverage here in where are we? Atlanta. Sad we're not continuing it, but this coverage continues all across the board all off season. So make sure to tune in with these guys. You have a safe flight, my brother.
Yeah, you're going. Deli Man's going to Chicago, and I'm going to Denver.
Wow.
So
I don't get it until midnight.
PHNX Sun Devils taking over everywhere.
that's what we
Totri,
do, man.
your final thoughts on the game, targeting 4th and 13, Sam Leavitt, all of that before you have a safe flight.
Final thoughts. I'll give you here in 60 seconds. It was targeting by the definition of the rule. Gene Steratore said it was targeting. Stephen A. Smith said it was targeting. Everybody said it was targeting, and it was targeting. The 4th and 13, just take a timeout. It's a coaching moment. It's a learning moment for the defense, for Brian Ward, for Kenny Dillingham, for the fan base, that it's not over until it's over. And then Sam Leavitt coming back, it's huge. It's absolutely massive to be able to have your young gun quarterback who just played on one of the biggest stages in college football, to have him return. It's going to help this team. It's going to help this program. And I'll tell you what, I said it immediately after that final whistle, this Arizona State team is going to be back. You just wait.
All right. Well, he will also be back after he flies back from Georgia. His name is Anthony Totri. You can follow him on social media at Anthony_Totri. Of course, our beat reporter. And of course, just the man who is in tune with everything going on with ASU. And as we get into recruiting season, transfer portal, everything like that, this is the man that you need to follow. Once again, at Anthony_Totri. See you, man. Have a safe flight.
Appreciate you, buddy. I will see you back in studio tomorrow.
Woohoo! Hey, can you tell how thrilled I am, how excited I am? We do have another super chat from Paintball Gaming. We're going to get to that, plus some news on the Branch Brothers. All of that coming up after our final break. Sometimes you just need a little extra drive, and Sanderson Ford, well, they're the place to help you get that. And it's not just about getting you in a car. It's about getting you in the right car for the right price, the right way. And that's why no pressure, no hassle, no nonsense is how Sanderson Ford lives their lives. Their 65-acre facility makes them the largest Ford dealership in the nation. And when you add up all their sales, they sell more Fords than anyone in the nation. And Sanderson Ford is also America's most awarded Ford dealership for customer satisfaction. Are you noticing a trend here, everybody? They're just the best at what they do, and what they do is get you in the right car for the right price, depending on what your budget is, what your lifestyle is, and what exactly you are trying to achieve with your next vehicle. They're family owned and operated through 3 generations, and right now you can get a new 2024 F-150 truck with 3.9 APR financing for 66 months, plus up to $4,000 cash back. Similar savings on over 900 new and pre-owned vehicles on the lot as well. And yesterday, if you did watch our live watch along, which ended up being the most viewed live stream in PHNX sports history, you saw us at Gila River Resorts and Casinos Wild Horse Pass, because nobody does it better when it comes to hosting PHNX events, whether it comes to hosting you for a weekend, for a night out, whatever it might be. Maybe you want to check out their over 4,500 slots and live table games, or you can catch any of the action at their live sports book, or you can catch their shows, or you can have a staycation. You can go to their dining, upscale to approachable, all of the above. It's all at Gila River Resorts and Casinos. And right now they are giving away an Arizona Cardinals game day VIP experience. Enter for your chance to win the ultimate Cardinals VIP experience for you and your friend. Winners will enjoy 2 tickets to the San Francisco 49ers at Arizona Cardinals game in January. Plus, that's this month, on-field pregame experience, lunch at the Morgan Athletic Club, meet and greet with Big Red and cheerleaders, VIP stadium parking, and a 2-night stay at Gila River Resorts and Casinos, V Cueva, and more. Enter for your chance to win at playatgila.com/Cardinals, and you do you. At Gila River Resorts and Casinos, visit playatgila.com for more details. We got Sharon, Hale, Blackwind, South KMX, Jimenez, Cade, El Guapo 214, who's just been the least sore loser of all time in the chat today. Ralph in the chat as well, saying if Sam was in the portal, Texas would definitely target him. Absolutely, unequivocally, without a doubt. Patriot Mapper in the chat as well. Appreciate all of you. We do have Captain Redbeard behind the Mac. Captain Redbeard, I haven't asked for your opinion after a night of sleep that you so desperately needed. Let's rapid fire. Captain Redbeard, was it targeting?
Yes.
Was 4th and 13 terrible?
Was it terrible?
Like just terrible. Just a terrible time.
It was, because I thought this was the biggest chance ASU had to win in that game, and I thought they were going to win. I mean, you stopped them all 3 downs, 4th and 13. The game is ours, and then boom, get cooked for a touchdown.
Yeah, it's definitely tough. And then the good news, Sam Leavitt back next year. What does that mean for this team from your perspective?
I mean, this is everything. You put everything into this kid this year, and you're bringing him back. You know, we had a whole year to develop, and he's the guy next year. We'll have new weapons. It's gonna be a great offense next year.
Yeah, and especially if they're able to add Zachariah Branch, which got a little bit more difficult. Per 24/7 Sports for Miami, elite wide receiver transfer Zachariah Branch and his older brother safety Zion Branch are currently visiting Miami. Of course, Zachariah, the number 4 overall transfer and number 2 wide receiver in the transfer portal. It gets a little bit tougher for Arizona State to match the type of money that a Miami and a Georgia, and plus the fact that they did already visit ASU, they already visited Georgia, and now they're on a visit to Miami. I don't know if you could immediately say they are completely out of it. I don't think ASU is completely out of it, especially when you saw that the way that they competed in the Peach Bowl, the way the season has gone, and what it would mean if they did have a receiver like a Zachariah Branch there. But if they are able to return Sam Leavitt, they are able to get the number 4 overall transfer in the transfer portal, an elite athlete and somebody who has all the potential in the world to fit in and to be that wide receiver 1 and fighting for that spot with Jordan Tyson, who had an argument for best wide receiver in the Big 12 at the end of the season as well. You know, we could see a level of offense we haven't seen this year with Cam Skattebo if Zachariah Branch, along with Kanye Udo and everybody, is added to this team. Definitely something to keep an eye on if you're an Arizona State fan. It is a little bit unfortunate that this is continuing to drag on, and I think the longer that it goes on, the less likely that it would be for Zachariah Branch and for Zion Branch to come to Arizona State. But, you know, we've seen them. They do the impossible, and they do it all the time. And I wouldn't be shocked at all if that were to happen. It's just the longer this goes on, the less likely it seems. Let me know in the chat if you think that Arizona State might be able to land wide receiver Zachariah Branch and, of course, his brother safety Zion Branch, 2 of the best names in college football. It's kind of hard to miss with Branch, but the double Z's also goes pretty crazy as well. And both players that could play here. I mean, we talk about Zachariah, but Zion as well, who they are a package deal. They're coming together. Zion could definitely play, and we could use some help in that secondary. He'd be a key rotational piece, and he would definitely have a shot to fight and to start. I don't think he would be promised a starting position, but he would absolutely get promised time to play, as in come here, prove it, and you'll absolutely play. I want to address El Guapo in the chat, who says that ASU's going back to irrelevance. Texas needs to pay Tyson a transfer, and Branch brothers are visiting Texas too soon. You guys are completely out. Listen, the one thing about this ASU team is that this was not just a flash in the pan, right? The way that this team was built, it's built for consistency, longevity, and they just so happen to be way better this year than what everybody expected them to be. And at the end of the day, this is not a team that was built to have everybody leave and everybody go on. In fact, the majority of the players are returning, including so many of your key pieces. And yes, you're losing Cam Skattebo, but you already have a running back in the transfer portal who had over 1,000 yards rushing this season, the Army transfer, Kanye. And then you have Kyson Brown, who played well against Texas, and Kyson Brown, who was basically supposed to be the next running back up for ASU, one of the smartest players on the team, extremely physical, extremely fast as well. This running back room is going to be okay. Sam Leavitt's going to get better. Jordan Tyson's going to be back, and they're going to have at least extra help in that room with Jalen Moss as well. Ralph in the chat saying cognitive dissonance of Texas fans in this chat being proud of a double overtime win over a team they say are trash. One thing I've learned, and it's not all of you, I'm going to be honest, there are a lot of Texas fans that have been in here that have been perfectly fine. There's a Texas fan that came in here and talked about how, you know, they have so much respect for ASU and that they shocked them. And, you know, I even mentioned you can be cocky going into the game because you are 2 touchdown favorites and you want to talk your talk like that. But I just said, don't be surprised when ASU punches you in the mouth back. And there are Texas fans who have come in here and admitted that they were wrong, who have admitted that, you know, ASU did a way better job. And there are even Texas fans that have said that it is targeting. I have never in my entire life encountered a fan base like Texas. Like, I thought I hated BYU fans, but some of y'all are just straight up delusional Like delusional to the absolute max. El Guapo says, you guys were the main ones talking. And this is how I know you're delusional. Like, walk with me here. We as a show said that ASU has a good chance to win this game and that Texas should not sleep on ASU and that Arizona State could absolutely beat Texas. And that was saying that we were trash talking. That was saying that we were not respecting Texas, saying that Arizona State had a chance. And then they proved what we said. They absolutely could have won the game. A couple things didn't go their way. They made some bad calls. They made some bad plays, and Texas ended up winning. And it is what it is. And I've given you guys credit. I gave you credit yesterday, and I've given you credit today. But you guys were all wrong. You're all wrong. And Tyler says ASU fans have been by far the worst in our chats for the whole year. I can't speak on that because I don't know what they're doing in your chats. But this is, I think this is hilarious. The way that Texas fans are trying to spin this, and the way that Texas fans also they're like, wow, you guys are complaining about a call. Oh, you're complaining about targeting. And then immediately going and complaining about all the other calls that they think the refs missed against ASU when you won. Who's really pathetic? You're still the one going back and complaining about all these calls. It's honestly incredible. It's very, very funny. Let's get to a couple of super chats before we round things out here on this earlier edition of PHNX Sun Devils. Paintball Gaming sent us a couple super chats and then another one, a $19 super chat. In total, about $35 in super chats from Paintball Gaming. We do appreciate you, Paintball Gaming. Says, went to the game yesterday. Was absolutely bummed that we lost the way we did, but on the same tone, ASU proved they could hang with the bigger teams. Forks up for life. It's definitely bittersweet, but more bitter right now. Paintball Gaming. Another $4.99 super chat from John. John's been on fire with the super chats. Future Sun Devil. John Whitaker, I'm speaking into existence. Reminder to Texas fans who are nitpicking Sam, he's a redshirt freshman and was still better than your senior. The ultimate box score watching is the Ewers versus Sam Leavitt debate. Because if you were actually watching the game and you're not just going to go back and talk about the stats, with especially the situation that Sam Leavitt was put in and the fact that he was running for his life every 5 seconds as well, versus what Quinn Ewers was surrounded with and the hand that he was dealt, I think Sam Leavitt is a better quarterback than Quinn Ewers. I think he played like a better quarterback than Quinn Ewers. And at the end of the day, Quinn played good enough to win, and especially at the beginning and the end of the game, he locked in and he made big plays. And I'll give him all the credit in the world. But Leavitt made something out of nothing way more. And that's like the baseline of the great quarterbacks, of the all-time quarterbacks, or the ones that could be put in the tough situations like Leavitt did. And was he perfect? No. But again, he was born in 2004. He just turned 20. He's a redshirt freshman on the biggest stage in his life, was getting hit and pressured nonstop. He rolled out of the pocket and he found a way to make something shake every step of the way. He made big plays when it needed to be. He made big throws when he had to, big runs out of the pocket. And was he perfect? No. But was the team perfect around him? No. Was he in a perfect situation? No. Right? And you can sit here, we could talk about targeting, we talk about all of that. I do believe that Sam Leavitt is the better quarterback than Quinn Ewers. I think when it's all said and done, the whole nation will accept that once Sam Leavitt plays another season. And who knows, Quinn Ewers might come back into college football. I think Sam Leavitt, as soon as he's NFL eligible, he's going in that draft. And somebody said he's not a first-round pick. If he plays a little bit better than he did this year and as consistently as he did in the second half of the season over the next season, that man's a first-round pick. His size, his athleticism, his instincts, his literal athletic ability as far as how strong his arm is. He has great accuracy now. And yeah, he had an interception, again, trying to make things shake, fit it into a tight window. Great play from Texas as well. Sam's not perfect right now, but he's not supposed to be perfect right now. And he's set up to come back with a vengeance and better than ever. El Guapo says, won't even hear about bro next year. You will. You will. It's okay. These are the same Texas fans who told me that I was delusional for saying ASU could compete, that I was delusional for saying that Arizona State belonged in the college football playoffs, and that come today I would sit here and I would apologize to them because they were right and I was wrong. The only thing that you guys were right with is that, yes, you did get the win, and a lot went into that. You guys played well. The refs played well for you guys as well. But you still got the win, and you have to tip your hat, and you have to give credit to that, and I will. But at the end of the day, we still shocked you. We still shocked the world. And I'm still incredibly proud of what this Arizona State team did. We appreciate all of you in the chat, the dumb ones, the smart ones, everybody in between. And if you took offense to that, then you're telling on yourself. Appreciate you hitting that like button. We appreciate Anthony Totri calling in from Atlanta. If you're watching on TV, the party always continues over at GoPHNX.com. We do have an article up on GoPHNX.com from Patrick Brown recapping this game. Of course, we have all of your Sun Devil content that you could possibly imagine. Press conferences, shorts, live shows, all right here on PHNX Sports. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Make sure you also follow us on social media as well. You can follow the show at PHNX_Sun Devils. Like I mentioned before, you can follow Totri at Anthony_Totri. You can follow myself at ERIKRUBY. Follow Captain Redbeard behind the Mac, making all the magic happen at K Coop Sports. And until tomorrow, go Devils and peace.
We all silly like the mayor.